Good morning, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Annandale Eskdale Area Committee, which is being live streamed and recorded. The recording will be made available on our Council's website for public listening. Members may notice that when calling members to speak, I will refer to them formally and use the title so it is clear who are councillors, who by the process of elimination are officers. Remote participants, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you are not addressing the meeting. Writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. If you're in the hall, you can do this on your iPhone or iPad. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time or write leave in the Teams chat function, then join when you rejoin the meeting, so we can keep track of whether the meeting is quorate. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions. And referring to reports, please provide a reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. Similar to the process now followed at full council, when considering motions amendments which are substantive in nature, I will call a recess where necessary so that I may seek government's advice on competency. This is good practice in governance terms and will also provide for governments to be able to collate and circulate the terms of the said motion amendment to members in order that they have opportunity to properly review it. I hope this process makes matters more effective and I seek member support in implementing this. The first item of the agenda is the Sederant apologies and Chair's approval of members' remote participation. Tracy, can you please provide the Sederant indicating who's participating remotely and any apologies?
Good morning, Forum. Thank you, Chair. We've got 8 members present in total. 2 members present here in person at Annandale Town Hall, being the Chair and Councillor Dryborough. 6 members present on Microsoft Teams, being Councillor Karen Crothers, Councillor Davis, Councillor Mayo, Councillor Marshall, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Wilson. I have 2 apologies from Councillor Jameson and Councillor McGregor, and we've got no Youth Council reps in attendance today. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Tracy. I give permission for remote participation. Second item is declaration of interest. Members, any statement of connection or declaration of interest is declared based on the definition statement of connection. For transparency reasons, members may wish to make a public statement. Declaration of interest, members would now be required to leave the meeting for that item. And Councillor Dryborough.
Thanks, Chair. 2 statements of connection. In the first meeting on page 29, New Start Recycle, not New Start Recycling. I'm a volunteer there on a Saturday morning, but I've got no precision. The other one is the exempt item. I know the individual who started the Veterans Garden in Dumfries, but he has no longer anything to do with that. Thanks,
Archie, for that. Any other declarations? No? We can go on to the minute of the previous meeting of the 24th of September. The minutes for approval. Are we happy to approve that? Okay, thank you for approving that. Item 4 is Annandale and Eskdale Area Committee Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Fund Monitoring Report 2024-25, report by the Head of Thriving Communities. Our first report looks at the impact of Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Fund, which was allocated in 24-25. The report highlights that over 2,839 people within Annandale and Eskdale have directly benefited from the project supported by funding from this area committee. And the feedback is a stark reminder of the effects of the cost of living crisis and the tremendous efforts that our third sector is making to mitigate them. Jamie Nicholson, Ward Officer, is in the hall to answer any member questions or address any member comments. Is there anyone who would like to add to the report, Jamie? I noticed that there are 3 reports still outstanding.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to update members with we have now received the monitoring report from Gretna Football Club Youth Division, and we're still awaiting the Annan Academy Parent Council and the Annan Community Transport, which we're actively seeking, and we can circulate that once they arrive.
Thanks, Sir Jamie. Can that be circulated to members as soon as they come up? Because it's important that we do get feedback, and it's done timorously as well. Thank you. So we're on to any Councillor Dryburgh.
Thanks, Chair. And it's on that particular point. I mean, I see that there's, we've got the third one, but there's 2 grants that haven't received their monitoring reports back. And I just wonder if there's something that we can do, because obviously there's a lot of grants that were given, there's a lot of grants that weren't given because we never had enough money to deliver that. I'm just wondering if there's something we can G people up to make sure that they do their monitoring report on time, so that the business can be held in a more affluent way.
Yeah, I think I noticed that, so I think a strong reminder to the groups that we need to get those monitoring reports in on time. Councillor Crothers. Carm. In the meantime, Councillor Marshall, while Councillor Crothers gets back online.
Yeah. Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I've got no problem with the reports. Just really because this is Annandale Eskdale Area Committee, just wanted to raise an issue with regards to New Start Recycling. They're a fantastic organisation, and it says the beneficiaries are 2,570. I think that may be just being Annandale and Eskdale, but they reach wider than that. They reach into Nistdale, other parts of Dumfries and Galloway, and also even across the border into Cumbria. But it's just because I sit and tackling poverty and I sat on the communities, etc. We have had presentations from similar organisations. So we have had, it was detailing all the great work that's being done by Jacks in Dumfries and the furniture project over in Stranraer. And they do very similar things to New Start. The only difference is, though, when we had the presentations on Jacks and the Stranraer project, they employ about 10 to 15 people. And it was we have raised it with regards to New Start. New Start doesn't employ anybody. It's run by volunteers, and it's very delicate the way that it's balanced. It just needs 1 or 2 of the director to leave, and then that vital service or the services that provide could be at jeopardy. So we value what New Start do right across Annandale and Eskdale, and we have said we need to work towards a sustainability model for New Start. And I'm just wondering, we raised that about a year ago, but as an Annandale and Eskdale Area Committee, would it be right of me to ask for a report on how we can actually support? Because New Start will come back for, and rightly so, for tackling poverty funding monies that's available, but we do have a limited pot. So I would like to see a report, because New Start mainly provide the services throughout Annandale and Eskdale. I would like to see some sort of report that would outline a route map to sustainability of New Start.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks for the question, Councillor Marshall. I think there will be an opportunity for the likes of New Start, a broader discussion to come before the Area Committee, and greater engagement about the sustainability of the service at the Area Committee meeting in September. this committee agreed 3 topics for community engagement activity to be undertaken over the next 12 months, and one of those was the recipient of grant funders. And I think that would be an ideal opportunity to perhaps invite the likes of New Start Recycling to provide that level of engagement with members and get that sort of deep dive discussion about how the service could be potentially sustained.
After that, Councillor Marshall.
Well, kind of, what I'm more interested in a report from Dumfries and Galloway on how they, what part they can play in making it sustainable. So whilst we would still have that, we have had presentations to Dumfries and Galloway Council on New Start. So I would like to see a report that just looks at how the council can support New Start, which is slightly different from, I welcome what Stuart is offering, but I do think that a report to Annandale and Eskdale Area Committee, specifically looking at what the council can do to sustain a New Start, would also be something I'd like to see.
Stuart? Yeah.
Yeah, happy to take that feedback, Councillor Marshall, and we can certainly consider with colleagues how we bring forward an appropriate report to the committee. And it may be the opportunity through the engagement that I previously referenced, there may be an opportunity to build upon that and bring a report at a future date outlining the role that New Start plays within the Annandale and Eskdale area and how potentially our council or other partners could provide further funding for that organisation.
Thank you, Stuart. That's great.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, it was just on a similar point, and I think I was welcome Stuart just outlining that there's an opportunity for groups to actually come and present at area committee, so we can actually find out more about what they offer and how they support communities in Annandale and Eskdale, which is right. I'm just sort of conscious. It doesn't feel quite right to sort of, by all means, recognise the work that groups do, but to sort of single specific groups out. I mean, it's up to each group to sort of put forward the business case, and we can support them where they align with our values. But there's groups we don't even know about yet, or groups that are also worthy of support. And I just feel we should be more equitable about how we do that. So if a group is worthy, then of course that'll probably align with our funding and our values as an area committee, which is fine, and they do get supported. But I think I think we have to be cautious about how we do that. So I think if there isn't a report coming back, as Stuart's outlined, it has to be sort of appropriate, so that we're not doing something we wouldn't do for any other group that showed those merits. Thank you.
I think we'll take a note of that when we have the actions from the today's meeting. Okay, thanks, Councillor Thompson. Any other member wanting to come in? Yeah, we've got a series of good reports, good case studies coming back from the groups that have done this great work in Annandale and Eskdale. I'd just like to thank them all for their contributions to tackling our cost of living crisis and tackling poverty. So if there's no more members wanting to come down, we'll move to recommendations. Members are asked to note, 1, the performance monitoring information from projects supported by the Annandale and Eskdale Area Committee Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Fund in 24-25, as referenced in paragraphs 4.8 to 4.9 and detailed in Appendix 2. And 2, that more than 2,839 people have directly benefited from the projects supported by this fund, which have drawn additional investments to tackle poverty and inequality in the local Annandale and Eskdale area. Happy to note these points. Yeah. And we've got an action point come from that, which was raised by Councillor Marshall and will take forward by Stuart Hamilton. Thank you. Any other business deemed urgent by the Chair due to the need for a decision? So I have no other further business deemed urgent that brings the ordinary business to conclusion. And we'll now move on to item 6, which is to Local Government Scotland Act 1973. we were asked to consider the adoption of a resolution to exclude the public from the meeting in terms of section 50A4 and paragraph 4 of 689 of part 1 of schedule 7A of the Local Government Scotland Act 1973. Are members happy to agree to consider adoption of this resolution? Agreed. Good. So we'll have to